My name is Jacob Villanueva.
My name is Jake Webster.
My name's Hannah S.K, and I am in my last term at PCC for the video production multimedia degree. I liked movies, and ever since I was super little, I would find a video camera at my grandparents' house, which we actually had those straight to VHS giant camcorders that we would use. Just liked doing it, and I like to create in general. I do music and stand up and things like that, and now that I'm actually in school with kind of given the tools to make a legitimate movie and kind of understand how that works, it's a lot of hard work that I had no idea that went into it, as opposed to just pulling out your phone and filming things, and you really see the difference. But just creating and telling stories.
I remember when I was a kid, my dad would always take me to the movies, not because he wanted to take me to the movies, but he had to. So I saw a lot of movies I probably shouldn't have seen. My favorite thing when I was a kid was Predator. And I remember I wore the VHSs out to the point to where they got me all the DVDs. And I would spend hours watching the making of featurettes. And I remember just getting so dialed into, this is the only thing I want to do with my life, is I want to make movies. So it's been a lifelong ambition of mine to get behind the camera and produce something of my own.
So I grew up in North Hollywood. My mom worked in the industry. I kind of grew up on set, usually sitting next to the sound guy, because that was the quiet place I could be at. But I think the movie that really changed it for me was Jurassic Park. I think when I was a kid, just seeing the magic happen in visual effects, and the first time seeing dinosaurs, I thought it was real, and at that time I was this is real. I always still look back on now as the impact that Jurassic Park had on me. But
the class, I love that class. We had Jack Perez, Wild Things 2. Also directed Xena Warrior Princess. Right? Shout out to Jack Perez. He was a lot of fun, and that was just kind of what the class. There were prerequisites to learn a little bit about lighting and working the camera and things like that. But I think I really liked the free form of it. It was just you kind of came in with an idea, a vague idea of what you wanted to do, and helped make that a reality. But there were a ton of obstacles, and definitely kind of taking everything that you had learned already in the program and putting it all to use for the narrative was really cool, and to kind of challenge yourself to see what you'd retained.
One of the great things about PCC is that the classes kind of work in tandem with that production class. So if you take the acting class, you're preparing to act for those productions. So I took the acting class, and I saw how sort of meticulous the production class was. And I thought, when I finally have an idea that I want to make a film, I want to be as prepared as possible so I can utilize all of these assets. Because as Hannah was saying, when you actually have the tools at your disposal, that's something that was very exciting for me, and something that I didn't, expect to get out of a college class. So I wanted to be as ready as possible. And even then, I didn't immediately pitch the idea. My movie is a psychological horror thriller about what happens when someone pretending to be evil meets somebody who's actually evil. It's about a heavy metal musician who projects this idea out to the world that he's a cult leader, and he's this big evil presence, which attracts people who believe it. So they start committing arson and murder and sacrifices in his name, and it explodes out of his control. And there's an obsessed fan who is actually possessed by a demon. So it's a classic Be Careful What You Wish For, in that he's confronted with this, what he pretended has come to life. The film that we shot in class was one scene from each of the 3 acts that focus on each of the main characters. So it's sort of a pitch for this larger idea I had for an ambitious feature film. Something that I really credit Jack for helping me with was finding a realistic way to condense sort of a broad idea. As I said, it's a pitch for a feature, so condensing that into something that can be shot in a college class was sort of difficult. It was difficult to bring that idea into something achievable, especially with the sake of effects and stuff like that. Luckily, there were several gracious locations in Portland. We used the Old Church, which is a music venue. They were more than welcoming to allow me to film there on one of their off days. They even let us change the marquee to be, because it's supposed to be a funeral scene, they let us change the marquee to be, a funeral sign.
So, Scruff the Paranormal Investigator, it is the tale of a cursed VHS of E.T. the Extraterrestrial, which was rented from the cursed section at Movie Madness. And Scruff the Paranormal Investigator, he is an ex-cop turned kind of like a neo-noir detective. So the first part of the film is in black and white and shot locked off with lots of hard light, and then we kind of do a Wizard of Oz transition when we go into kind of this like haunted hell house. When it comes to filmmaking, a lot of times things are presented as a challenge in the moment, and they seem very challenging. And I think ultimately what happened in mine is those challenges then became, you know, kind of like these restrictions that allowed me to be more creative. And what I mean by that is like, we needed more people always because it was a really small crew. So when it came to doing sound, there was times where I had to run sound, times where I had to run camera, and just like really having to get in there and do whatever was needed to make the story work, you know, and to really drive that along. Even down to like casting. Like I had on the day a couple people like basically call out on the day for talent, on camera talent. So I had to, I'm in a throuple, so I had to have my wife and my girlfriend step in to be the victims in that scene. So it was kind of like the day I had to go to them and they're like, hey, are you guys down to be a dead person on the floor for our scene 4? Some of those are my favorite pieces to the movies where we were put in restricted places and we had to make the story work. And ideally, my hope for this is that I can find funding to turn this into a series and it get picked up and streamed.
My film's called Shooting Star, and it is about a stand-up comic that is like up and coming, and there's a party thrown by a bunch of popular stand-up comics are going to be there, and so she shows up to the party and is basically trying to be cool and fit in with like all these people that she feels like have like weight in her ability to move up. The weird part about the movie though is that multiple times like throughout her showing up before she leaves, she has friends back in her hometown where she moved from that she texts on a group chain, and every time she gets her phone out to text in the group chain, she's like teleported into like the actual like a void of what it would look like if people were physically in a text chain. So like she's in this world with her friends back in her hometown versus being at the party. And I guess like there's a contrast of like how different she acts when she's actually being natural and like comfortable with her friends back in her hometown versus how uncomfortable and weird she acts when she's at the party. The actual text chain void scene was probably the easiest thing about my entire film, just because we got to film it in the studio here. Yeah, I think it's a credit to this program too, actually, that like something like that was so easy. It was just a lighting trick. I kind of planned it out this way, but I had like, because I knew a lot of people that actually do comedy, I was like, okay, I have a lot of extras to have at this location. And I'd say about a third of them showed up, which is fine. It ended up actually working. I intentionally kind of like invited way too many people because I knew 2/3 of them probably wouldn't show up. But the chaos with that, and with it being my first, decently length short film, just made the whole thing chaos, and just trying to light it properly and get all the shots. But eventually I did get like most of the things that I wanted. Jacob is in here. Jacob came in to save the day. I actually lost my AD like the week before filming. We've been planning this for weeks leading up to that, and Jacob's one of 2 people that was there the entire time for every day of the shooting, which I really appreciate.
There's no way that we could have done it without collaborating. Like I know Jacob was solid for me as well too, as my first AD and running a tight ship, and it's really hard to do that without having people in your corner that know the story and are really driving that forward. I think the biggest thing that I would say when it comes to the collaboration is I got super lucky with the acting class, because that's who we had to cast from, and my 2 leads I couldn't have cast better, so I got really lucky that Steve and Alan had great chemistry on camera, that they fit the characters really well, that they really brought them to life and brought them off the page. So I think that was really where I was not expecting to have collaborators in that, and that they were also equally as dedicated to the story as the crew and me as a writer-director for it.
My actors really, this is very eccentric, odd characters and idea, and I was very worried about how that would work. But luckily enough for me, like a 1 in a million, miracle. Josh has been the frontman of a metal band in the same genre, and has extensive knowledge of the sort of like actual events that influence the story and the urban legends and all that stuff. So he was a massive help. It's all very Portland centric. Like, it takes place in Portland, and Portland has a very rich black metal sort of scene and underground. So it's really a love letter to that. I mean, I feel like Portland's the perfect environment for the story. It's so dreary and rainy, and gray. Yeah, ultimately it is a very ambitious idea. I would love to make it into a feature. And a lot of the stuff I wanted we weren't able to achieve, but I feel like the more I work on it and the more that I'm able to build it up, the closer we are going to get to having cults and altars and shotgun head explosions and all these crazy sequences that are part of the narrative. So ultimately for me, it's a stepping stone on the way to making that feature and hopefully kind of building some interest around it. Come watch our movies at the screening on the 15th.
Produced by Jack Perez, Wild Things 2.